Oh, hello. Oh, hello. Hello. You hear a word come out of my face hole? A microphone will work out now. Everybody make a happy face. Hello. Is this thing on? Hello. Hi. Good morning. I'm Bear from the internet. So listen, when you guys put 5x5 in the chat, that's an indication, a report that there is clear signal. Okay. So on our previous live stream from moments ago, where the audio wasn't working, that's not 5x5. Okay. So don't put 5x5 if there's not a good signal. Okay. Cool. See, we learn something new every day. Happy Monday. I'm Bear from the internet. It is the 19th of May, 2025, Anno Domini, the year of our Lord. And it's Monday, and we're going to kick a bunch of ass in the name of the Most High today. My voice is not great. It's 5x9 technically, according to Evan. Okay, HBD Off-Road, good morning. When I see 5x9, I think of gauze pads because you know the industry we're in. We trained all day yesterday, about 13 hours, and we're going to train about 13 hours again today on the Refuge Train the Trainer class, which is why we're here so early this morning, and is why we don't have a whole bunch of time for the brief this morning. So I guess we should just get after it, right? Sounds good. Okay, cool. It may not surprise the preparedness crowd to hear that the United States critical infrastructure may be compromised by foreign bad actors. Engineers have uncovered unauthorized communication devices, essentially kill switches, hidden inside Chinese manufactured components used in renewable energy systems across the United States. So, as if renewable energy at grid scale didn't suck enough already, now the Chinese can turn it off whenever they want to. That's great. While skeptics believe these components may have other more mundane functions, their presence still represents an important vulnerability. These covert cellular radios were found embedded within power inverters, the crucial equipment that connects solar panels and wind turbines to the electrical grid. An inverter takes direct current and inverts it, turns it into alternating current so that it can be used in our 60 hertz, roughly 240 volt residential homes. A rectifier takes AC and turns it back into DC, alternating current to direct current. So it's just, from one modality of transmission or generation to the other. And so the inverter, if you have DC direct current, which is like all generators essentially produce direct current, because you have a stator and a rotor. You have two pieces of copper essentially spinning inside, one spinning inside the other, one spinning, the other's fixed, stator and rotor. And that encourages the flow of electrons, and they come out of the generator as direct current. So in order for us to use it in our house, I need more coffee. It's got to be alternating current. And so you have to invert it from direct current to alternating current. Wind turbines produce DC, solar panels produce DC, your motor vehicle produces DC from the alternator. Everything produces DC. Okay. So, that effectively, this is a quote, that effectively means there's a built-in way to physically destroy the grid, end quote, one insider told Reuters. Yeah, man, I've been telling you guys this for a long time. For a long time. The grid is not as nearly as stable as people want it to be. Essentially, the concern is that in the event of conflict or as a strategic move, Beijing could potentially trigger widespread blackouts across America with the push of a button. One alarming, or if their radio transceivers anyone could broadcast on that particular frequency, that would be a problem. And turn the solar panels off, the wind turbines off, to say nothing as we previously discussed. The degradation of the U.S. grid due to rust and the lack of output, based upon forecasted usage, line versus load. We need 300% more power generation than what we have right now. We know that the very large transformers, robots in disguise, those guys, you're talking a 600-ton transformer that most of which are manufactured in China. There have been some of those have been sequestered for inspection at ports because they're finding upon inspection that there's capabilities built into these transformers that weren't ordered by the buyer, the power company, and those capabilities would allow Beijing to turn the transformer off. And it takes about, when I was doing this stuff, it took about 18 months to 2 years to get one of those transformers, and each one is custom built to the project. So it's not like there's a warehouse full of these transformers you can just swap in and out somewhere. It's very, very specific to the project. One alarming incident already occurred in November when the solar power inverters in the U.S. were disabled from China. Mike Rogers, former director of the U.S. National Security Agency, put it bluntly when he said, quote, "We know that China believes there is value in placing at least some elements of our core infrastructure at risk of destruction or disruption," end quote. I'll say it again. Renewable generation, wind power and solar at grid scale, used for the national electrical grid, is just absolute stupidity. They're not primary generation. They're never going to be primary generation, not without a huge leap forward in capacitor technology to store the power that they produce. They make power when the wind is blowing or the sun is out, but that's not when we need power predominantly. So there has to be a way to store the power that they produce when the resource is available and then trickle it back out onto the grid when the resource is needed. We don't currently have that technology. United States electrical grid has 4 minutes of backup capacity, 4 minutes. And so therefore you need things that have a lot of what they call inertia. And that's going to be your nuclear, your coal, your natural gas, even diesel, number 2 fuel oil. Okay. So I see you, Rick. I said, no, I'm good on blue wrenches right now. It's not how the process works. Good morning, Frank. And so we need primary generation essentially to be means and methods by which we heat water to produce steam. The steam turns turbines. The turbines are mechanical. They have inertia. And they're very scalable. You can scale up or down by making more steam or opening the valve just a little bit more to give you just a little bit more power based upon what the load is, what the grid requires. It's worth noting that this type of problem extends beyond just this area. Chinese firms dominate the global market for these critical components. Remember Huawei? It was banned from the United States telecom networks in 2019 under President Trump 1.0. That company is the world's largest supplier of inverters. Oh, awesome. This means that even the growth of renewable energy capacity is increasing our vulnerability, the exact opposite of what such efforts are intended to do. Is this known? Is this why the Democrats have been pushing for the Green New Deal? No, they would never do that. They might be stalwart communist bastards that just want to see, godless heathens that want to see the destruction of America and the starvation of your children, all predicated on the redistribution of the wealth that you've busted your entire lifetime in order to have a couple of pennies to rub together so you might be able to retire one day and maybe drink a margarita on the beach one time because that's all the US dollar is worth anymore. How interesting. Was this is this a feature or a bug? Did they know? Did they know? Probably. Somebody knew somewhere. And so we got to run the entire, they would say, run the entire United States electrical grid on renewable energy because that worked out so good for Spain and Portugal and parts of France here recently. And oh, by the way, China's got a back door into it with a kill switch. The Democrats, the blue-haired flaming liberals would never do that, right? They would just wanted the Green New Deal because it's good for the earth. Sure. You know what's actually good for the earth? CO2. Now, barium and aluminum and heavy metals, everybody's like, well, we can't use coal because it's bad for the environment. And to a degree, I agree. Mountaintop removal, coal harvesting is garbage. Not a fan. And we shouldn't just be pumping the skies full of all kinds of detritus. But you can't, on the one hand, say, nope, you can't burn coal. It's bad for the atmosphere. And then just put planes filled with the same heavy metals you'd find in the fly ash from the coal and spray it in the sky every day and go, no, don't worry about that. That's fine. That's just a little bit of geoengineering that we're doing. You'll be fine. The lack of consistency indicates somebody's up to something, if that makes sense. So just wonder, the Democrats, did they know? Now, don't get me wrong, the Republicans are spineless cowards as well. But did they know that this feature existed when they were pushing for this multi-trillion dollar Green New Deal that China could just turn our grid off? Speaking of national security, meanwhile, American citizens are facing another concerning development from within the government. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller recently stated that the administration is, quote, actively looking at, end quote, suspending the writ of habeas corpus. That's fun. Suspending the writ of habeas corpus, a cornerstone constitutional protection against unlawful detention. Quote, the Constitution is clear, Miller told reporters. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended in time of invasion. Miller cited immigration at the southern border's justification using language similar to what President Trump has repeatedly described as an invasion. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, she of the great hair and incredibly poor weapons handling skills, echoed these sentiments, stating she believes recent levels of illegal immigration could provide sufficient legal rationale to suspend habeas corpus. When asked whether illegal border crossings constituted a rebellion or invasion that could allow for such suspension, Noem replied, quote, I'm not a constitutional lawyer, but I believe it does, end quote. Here's the thing. Maybe, if the current administration, are being completely altruistic, and they're the good guys, and they're only going to use it to get the people out that shouldn't be here in the first place, their argument. Sure, maybe. But what if, just like these Chinese kill switches and solar panels are a feature, not a bug? What if suspending the writ of habeas corpus is a feature, not a bug? Because here's the problem. Once that's done, now we're at the discretion of the law enforcement officer on the ground who's doing the arresting. And there's a broad spectrum of individuals within law enforcement, and anybody who knows law enforcement officers, is a law enforcement officer, or has been a law enforcement officer can tell you not all cops are good cops. It's almost like, do you want a war with your citizens? Is that what you want? Because we still don't have the Epstein files, not the real ones. We still don't have the 9/11 files. We still don't have, we have heavily redacted JFK files. What about RFK and MLK? We still don't have the audit of Fort Knox. Doge is essentially shut down. You haven't heard anything about them anymore. We've got a $1 trillion Pentagon budget. We've still got a $2 trillion per year spending deficit. We're 36, $37 trillion in debt. The US dollar still sucks. We're still fighting wars in the Middle East. All of the day one promises that were made are by and large just rhetoric. And you got a whole bunch of people, approximately my age, plus or minus 5 years, that spent a whole bunch of time in the sandbox fighting an insurgency over there for 20 years. They're pretty good at fighting an insurgency. So, what are you trying to do, federal government? Are we trying to have a second American Revolution? Are we trying to have Civil War 2.0? Does all this line up with the timeline for the age of an empire, 250 years, approximate age of an empire? It just seems very, very interesting that we would even be floating the idea of suspension of the writ of habeas corpus. Uh, I don't like it, even if it's very altruistic. It's just to get the people out that shouldn't be here in the first place, except it opens the door for so many other things. I mean, we're still dealing, you and I right now are being targeted by these existentialist crisis rectangles that we carry around every day because of the Patriot Act. Remember 9/11, all of that? And what actually happened on 9/11? I guess we'll never know, but definitely don't Google dancing Israelis. Don't do that. For context, habeas corpus, literally, you have a body in Latin, is a mechanism against unlawful detention that the United States adopted from England at its founding. Without it, you could be detained unlawfully. The Constitution only permits its suspension in cases of rebellion or invasion, and historically, its suspension has had significant consequences for civil liberties. Constitutional lawyer Jesus Rivera Delgado warned that for the U.S. to be considered invaded, there would need to be a threat from another country or group with the intention of military capability to overthrow the government. With the intention and military capability to overthrow the government. I wonder if that's why, what's her name? Claudia Sanchez, whatever, the Mexican president. Trump has gently floated the idea on several occasions that these people who are here, tied to the cartels, which also run the Mexican government, which nobody's, Scheinbaum, that's her name, Claudia Scheinbaum. The cartels who are here that also run Claudia Scheinbaum's Mexican government, that is an invasion, and the cartels currently are considered a terrorist organization, which is why the United States military is along our southern border right now. Not just law enforcement and federally commissioned officers, but the United States military. So I wonder if somewhere in a back room somewhere in DC, somebody's trying to arrange these little bits of information in such a way that we could end up with, oh yeah, this is absolutely an invasion by an outsider that could overthrow the United States government. Therefore, we've been invaded. Therefore, we must suspend the writ of habeas corpus. Quote, that is not what happened, end quote. Rivera Delgado said, quote, he's trying to use analogies to establish that the problem of illegal immigrants to the United States is an invasion. I think that's already stretching the point too far, end quote. The suspension of habeas corpus would be the suspension of fundamental constitutional protections, a clear threat to the legal framework that safeguards individual liberty. That's the written brief for today. I'm not a fan of suspending the writ of habeas corpus because of what do they call them? Newcomers? Is that what that's what the Democrats were so fond of calling them, because of the newcomers. I'm also not a fan of the newcomers coming here illegally and bypassing all of the immigration frameworks that we have in order to come here and participate in the great American experiment without, by and large, paying into the system and sending billions of dollars a day in remittances back to Mexico. Mexico and elsewhere. Not a fan of that. But I'm also not a fan of my constitutional rights being suspended because of it. Just so we're all on the same page here. Real quick, because we don't have a whole lot of time today. From ABC News, at least 28 dead as tornadoes and storms batter states from the heartland to the East Coast. At least 28 people have been reported dead across several states in an expansive outbreak of severe weather from the heartland to the East Coast, with more potentially powerful storms in the forecast. Yeah, I'll tell you today, Oklahoma today has a significant risk of severe weather today, which is great. But it's Oklahoma. It's like pretty much every day. What do they say? Don't be weather aware. Yeah, okay. We're super weather aware. I've got some weather pornographers in my group. They love it. And I say that in jest, right? Like they're like super into like the current model states, that stuff. But there's more severe weather coming today. There's been a lot of places that have gotten hit really hard. Kansas, Kentucky in the last 48 hours. And Grindstone is aware of that. We are already in the process of reaching out to these people. And we've got one more day today to get through here at home to make sure that we don't have problems at home that need to be rectified before we end up somewhere else. And so be praying for those people. Be praying for the people at Grindstone. If you would like to assist or support grindstoneministries.com. We prefer weather radar junkies, John McMillan. Okay, well, if you didn't act like weather pornographers, I wouldn't call you that. So you could prefer whatever you like, but deeds, not words, homie. Deeds, not words. Why return Jackery? What are you talking about? Oops. My Jackery's in the back of my truck. I didn't return it. It's in the back of my truck because the office had no power yesterday, the house had no power, and I was concerned the office would have no power, and we had to train yesterday. So I brought the Jackery to the office. No return Jackery. Jackery do good. Bear like a Jackery very much. Okay. Debating returning my Jackery I just ordered now. Dude, just chilling. Well, that's between you and Jackery, I guess. It would suck to need it for it just to be turned into a paperweight. No, I don't think Jackery has a kill switch. I think it's the control modules and the inverters in these solar panels. Although that's an interesting question. I don't know. I hadn't thought that far along just yet. Tornadoes. There's more severe weather forecasted for today. If you would like to help the people who have been affected by the tornadoes, grindstoneministries.com. Links is in the description. Let's see. 19 people were killed in Kentucky, according to an update from Governor Andy Beshear, with 7 people killed in Missouri and 2 in Virginia. Most of the deaths in Kentucky occurred in Laurel County in the southeastern part of the state. That was a rain-wrapped, late night, in the dark, middle of the night tornado, and those tend to be the most deadly. Beshear toured the damage of his state Saturday, telling reporters during a news conference afterward, "You cannot only see the destruction, you can feel it." The ages of those killed in the storm range from 25 to 76, with at least 12 of the deaths being people in their 60s and 70s. Continuing on, this article no longer provides. St. Louis was an EF3 in Missouri. St. Louis was hit particularly hard when a tornado ripped through the city neighborhoods Friday afternoon, tearing roofs off homes and knocking buildings down. National Weather Service said in an update Saturday that based on preliminary information, the storm was at least an EF3 tornado with winds up to 140 miles an hour and up to 1 mile wide at times. I would describe this, it was one of the worst storms, in quote, St. Louis Mayor Kara Spencer said at a news conference. And it goes on and on from here. 462,000 customers without power. The point I want to make here is, number one, we need to be lifting these people up in prayer. Number two, if you want to assist, grindstoneministries.com. Number three, The most likely threat is storms. It's weather. That's the most likely threat, external threat. So from your preparedness standpoint, if you have plans for what to do when the Chinese turn the grid off or habeas corpus is suspended, but you don't have a plan for what you're going to do if you have a power outage for 3 days, 3 weeks, um, you're probably missing the forest for the trees. And so you should have a plan. You should have a protocol for if the power goes out at my house and stays out for insert length of time here, because that's the statistically the most likely thing. Which, check this out, y'all. Uh, I have begun to address in the Prepper Classroom 2.0, which I started writing the scripting for based upon the Prepper Classroom 1.0. And the scripting is basically turning into a book, and I've already got 13 pages of chapter 1 written. Super interesting. I'm really looking forward to that. Rick asks, what's the 11 on your shirt mean? So when this instructor shirt was made, Refuge Medical had saved 11 lives with our kits. We're up to 144 now. So we were using hash marks like this to track lives saved. And at some point, you just run out of shirt to put hash marks on because we're up to 144 now. So that's super cool. And this will be the bow that we put on the show. calebhouse.org if you'd like to support our counter trafficking ministries. We have a lot of super interesting things happening in the field there. Construction is ongoing. We are doing the things, not talking about doing the things. In fact, we don't talk a whole lot about the things that we do with the rescue and restoration of juvenile human trafficking survivors. But if you'd like to know more, go to calebhouse.org. Link is in the description. And Refuge Medical right now has a BOGO, buy one kit, get your second kit at 30% off. It's a big deal. And if your order is over $2.99, you get a free boogie kit, which is like a small little compact boo-boo and light trauma kit. Fits great in a glove box, a backpack, a pocket, whatever. And you also get the remote responder webinar on May 30th free, which is a $99 value. If you just want to take the remote responder webinar, which is going to be 4 hours of our Responder 1 class, massive bleeding, airway, respiratory circulation, head injury, hypothermia, expose, evaluate, evacuate, elevate, that block of instruction, it's $99. You can get it on the training tab at refugemedical.com. We also have upcoming classes with Evan from Radio Made Easy. Strongly recommend that you come to that class if you don't have a radio, or if you have a radio but don't know how to use it, because it's communications is the cornerstone of logistics, and logistics is how we win wars, especially if the grid goes down or they suspend habeas corpus or whatever. Yeah, we've got a bunch of kits that are in stock and shipping fast at Refuge Medical. So if you need a vehicle kit and, a travel fac or an individual first aid kit for your line gear, or a stomp bag, a hospital on your back, or a birthing bucket, postpartum bucket, whatever, we got you. So check it out. 144. That's what this 11 here means. When we made this shirt a couple years ago, we had 11 lives saved to date. And we're now up to 144 confirmed via after action report. 144 lives saved to date with our kits. Shall we pray? Yes, we shall. Oh, good morning, Father Yahweh. Father, first of all, please be with all these people that have just had their lives turned upside down by these storms. Father, I don't know what you're doing there, but you do. And we know you are sovereign over all things, including the storms that cause these damage. So I have seen you show up in the aftermath of these storms before, and it has been very humbling to see that. And so I ask that you would just show up in the aftermath of these storms too. And Father, I also pray that you would let all of us within the sound of my voice who were not affected by these storms, didn't lose somebody or lose all their worldly possessions, be mindful of that today and be thankful of that today and not miss all the things that we take for granted, all of your myriad provisions and protections and blessings that we just skip over every day without giving credit to you, the Creator, from whom all good things flow. So, Father, thank you for all the things that we never say thank you for. Father, yeah, please keep us safe today. Please put us where we need to be. Give us the words that we need to speak. Let us minister to your kingdom and be your hands and feet. Help the people that need to be helped. Teach the people that need to be taught. Heal the people that need to be healed, Father. Just walk with us today. Just be with us, Dad, as we do our best to put a smile on your face. Let us choose joy in service to you. We know it's Monday, and we know that the whole world is going to be trying to kick our butt today. And so, Father, even if we get our butt kicked by the world today, let us get our butt kicked in a way that puts a smile on your face. Let us conduct ourselves in a way that puts a smile on your face and builds a witness and testimony for you and how good you are and how awesome you are and how much you love us. Father, thank you for the atoning sacrifice of Messiah, that we would have a way to come home again. Thank you for redeeming us by the blood of the Lamb to be your sons and daughters again. Father, give us this day our daily bread. Don't forget about us, but make your face shine upon us. And we'll do our absolute best to keep our half of the deal and conduct ourselves as sons and daughters. Father, Yah, we love you, and we thank you in Yeshua's name. Amen. I got to go. I will see you when I see you. Shalom.